This is another little go-round about the Watchtower's changing doctrines. It's the last part of this particular phone call. I found it really interesting to hear her scramble to come up with defenses for all the changing teachings. She tried to use the new light claim that other cults also use as an excuse for their failed predictions and changed teachings. It really is a Gnostic concept, which is why I felt the need to point it out. We could have also spent a few minutes looking at Proverbs 4, which is where they try to get that proof text from. I wonder if she already knew, though, that it is totally taken out of context when you try to use that verse to defend failed prophecies and changing teachings, because she kind of abandoned that defense pretty quickly and went right back to this claim that Russell and his group were just honest-hearted people trying to understand what the Bible really says. She has used that one before. It's actually pretty arrogant to assume, because it basically is saying that all people before Russell couldn't understand the Bible until he came along to enlighten them. Russell, the same guy whose teachings are so totally different from what the Watchtower teaches now, that guy. Note how, when I point that out, she immediately wants to talk about newer teachings, as if the very founder of their religion is not really important. From there, we get to hear her actually defend the Watchtower's teachings leading up to the 1975 failed prophecy, telling followers not to get married or have kids and not to get an education. She even tries to paint marriage in a bad light to defend their teaching that members should not get married since the end was supposedly so near. My church elders don't claim the kind of authority that the governing body claims. They don't make new doctrine or change doctrine, or, they're just...
That's an interesting thing when you say change doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the in the early congregation, when Paul was writing letters, he gave different direction too. There was change, and in fact, in the Bible, it speaks of the light getting brighter.
Well, that's a Gnostic idea of new light.
And what do you mean by Gnostic?
Gnostic? That's something that they were actually battling in the early church, that Gnostic ideas of new light, new secret light to be revealed only by certain people at certain times, and always trying to get new information and new light. That's what they called it. They've always called it. It's still very much around today. That's different than, the Bible is a
Where
revelation.
Does it say that?
The Bible is a progressive revelation that is completed when the Bible was finished.
But the prophecies in it haven't been completed, so
there are future prophecies,
we have to discern,
right?
That's what Paul talked about.
Yeah, but that's not the same as changing doctrine, though.
Well, can you point to a doctrine that has been changed? You speak with such authority. What doctrine are you referring to?
Well, this is just from my looking into stuff on your website and talking to people and whatnot. So,
what subject?
Okay.
What changed? What changed?
Oh, there's so many. Well, first of all, have you ever read any of the early books from Charles Taze Russell?
No, I read. I read pretty well what's current, but I don't read generations and generations past.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because back then, a lot of the stuff he was teaching was very, very different than what the organized... Like, I think if somebody believed what Charles Taze Russell taught any time in his life, even towards the end, if they walked into a kingdom hall and started saying those things, they'd get kicked out really quick. Because that's how different the teachings are now than they were then.
Well, point me out a thing that's different.
Sure. Okay. Michael the Archangel is the Pope of Rome.
I haven't read that anywhere.
Yeah, that's in the Finished Mystery. I have a copy.
Oh, well, the Finished Mystery. That's an old book.
Yeah, but that was actually Rutherford that put that out. But it was sort of it was a lot of quotes from Russell, because he was already dead by then. But they quoted him saying that, and they published it, and so they were teaching that.
Well, when
That's just one example. There's a lot of other ones. It's a really interesting book.
well, as I say, those Bible students, when they and Russell was a Bible student. He wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. He was a Bible student, and he was meeting with all kinds of religions to come up with what the Bible really talked about, what the truth of the Bible was.
Mm-hmm. So nobody else was able to do
that? So there was a lot of speculations, and there was a lot of misrepresentations there, of course, because they were trying to find out the truth of the Bible, because there were so many different churches that were involved in there. So many people went from different churches.
Yeah, okay. So
these were honest-hearted individuals who were trying to find the truth. So there was individuals with different ideas that came together, but their objective was to come up
with new light,
checking different Bible scriptures one against the other, to come up with a consensus of truth. And that took time.
So that was an example of a change. That's just one example. There's lots of other ones. So that's something that's very different.
Well, you're comparing that then when this was the Bible students. You tell me about something that is within the last 50 years.
Okay. Sure.
That is a drastic change.
Okay.
Not a clarification. There's a difference between a clarification and a change.
Okay. There were teachings, very clear teachings. I've read them, seen the publications of telling young people to not get married and not go to college because for sure they were not going to grow old, so that would be a waste of time.
Now, see, that's a misinterpretation.
Oh, no, that's exactly what it says multiple times.
That's the way...
I'm quoting it almost word for word. Yeah.
Word for word?
Almost word for word.
I mean, we still encourage people to keep their priorities straight.
Mm-hmm.
We encourage people to get a job and go to school, whatever school they want to go to be able to make a living. People go to university now. Do they learn anything? They're still working at McDonald's. They're working in the city digging ditches.
But that's not really the point, though. They were actually saying because they believed that Armageddon would be over before the end of their, very soon.
Yeah,
so,
but that was their speculation. But Armageddon is still coming.
But that's what they were directing people. I agree, it is. But that's what they were saying. It's coming now. It's coming in. I guess 1975 was. They were just
instructing their. You see, as a witness, we would realize that's an admonition not to put your faith in higher education. Because does higher education bring life everlasting? No.
But then there were people who were never able to earn a decent living or even get married, who really wanted to get married. They wanted a family, but they gave all that up because they were so sure.
They weren't told not to marry.
Oh, yeah, they were.
No, they were told to pursue if they would be happier if they didn't. Nowadays, you realize, of course, that marriage is a very... How many marriages stay married? People have problems. If we're looking at if you're looking at the big picture, and if you want to live forever, and you want to make sure that you will be able to live forever in that new world with Jehovah as sovereign Lord, then you want to know your priorities. And it would be a shame if you went to university and became so focused on getting an education and learning philosophy and learning all about this and questioning that, and forgetting where your priority is of serving Jehovah and fulfilling your commission that Christ Jesus made before he died. After he died and just before he went to heaven, to make disciples of all the people of all the nations, and then the end will come.
Okay.
So, so that it's where do you want your young people to have a good sense of priority.
So what about like doctors and people with higher?
We have doctors in our organization.
Who were born and raised in the organization, encouraged to go to school to become a doctor?
If they wanted to, they could. Sure.
Interesting.
There's whole families of doctors.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, okay. Well, that's an interesting talk about the organization. I think I have a lot more questions about that I would love to ask, but we should probably wind it down for today. I should get back up there. But I'm really glad you called.
Well, think of what you want to talk about, and maybe you can give me a call. But I would suggest, wanting to. What I really mainly wanted to highlight was the fact that our organization, as because you were upset, I detected you were kind of a little upset or a little perturbed that this governing body was like a little dictator group that was making people do everything that they wanted to, But I wanted to show you that this was the pattern from when Christ was on the earth.
Well, my concern was more just with the way that you as individuals submit to them and just kind of take everything they say.
Well, didn't those the Ephesians, the Corinthians, the Galatians, the Cretes, didn't they all follow instruction?
Well, yes.
All made visit after visit.
That's different than not being able to question their authority, question their teachings or anything like that.
Well, they didn't question them because they realized that this was the truth. This was beneficial.
Every single thing, always.
It's we've never ever. I've never ever experienced. I've never heard of anybody's experience of saying that what the governing body has said is the wrong thing. It's like just take for example when the Israelites were leaving Egypt. This is just a side issue. This is the same. It's an issue. It's the same issue, but it's just a different way of looking at it. Just pretend now if you're one of the Israelites, a group of the Israelites in the group of Israelites that was leaving Egypt, and you were escaping Pharaoh. Get the picture?
Yeah.
And you're going towards the Red Sea. You're directed by Moses to go to the Red Sea, towards the Red Sea. Your logic will tell you, no, we're going to be trapped. We're going to get to the shores of the Red Sea, and the Pharaoh and his chariots are going to kill us there. I'm not going there. I'm going towards another country, I'm going towards Palestine, or wherever. Maybe they'll help us. Certainly not go to the Red Sea. We'll either drown or be killed by Pharaoh. Would you obey?
So you're comparing the governing body to Moses then?
Well, Moses was the leader, the earthly leader at that time.
Okay, so they're the same level as Moses then?
Their instructor at the time.
Okay, interesting.
Just as your pastor was the instructor at your time.
My pastor would never claim to be that, ever. He would never claim to be like a Moses or comparable to Moses.
Well, isn't he an instructor? Doesn't he get up in front of the pulpit and preach?
He's a shepherd.
Yeah, and that's what Moses was.
He was also a leader and authority. He was in a very special position.
Well, your pastor is supposed to be making decisions and things for your particular church.
Yeah, we have, which we all work together on. We have votes, we have the elders talk together. We don't have one person running it. We just
Well, yes,
we have,
we don't have one person talking
and the
running
members,
it either.
and we have general meetings where we have the membership. We all come together and we vote on things.
Well, we have a membership, but unfortunately, we can't get together. 9 million of us to get together.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, can we talk more about this next time?
Sure.
Like the same stuff about the governing body? Because I have some more things. I just didn't have my notes or whatever to run around and try to remember what my questions were about that. But yeah, maybe next time we can get more into that. And
yeah. Okay. Well, you can give me a call if you want to.
That would be great. Well, it was awesome to hear your voice again. Thank you for calling.
You take care.
Okay. So you probably noticed the tremendous amount of brainwashing my JW friend has been subjected to. She was ready and willing to defend their false teachings, failed prophecies, requirements not to get married or get an education, and even claimed yet again that no JW ever had a need to question anything the governing body teaches. She had called me that day specifically to do everything she could to defend and promote the governing body and the Watchtower in general. How well do you think she did? Was I convinced? We'll pick up next time with the beginning of our next conversation.